Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Dean, 1/35 scale modeler. I'm going to do a casting for you, and what I've picked is this cobblestone mould. So at the moment it's like talc or chalk on it that I need to clean off. So I've got a bowl of water here. So what I'll do is I'll just get that in there. What I need to do is I just need to get a brush in there, give that a little agitate, and all this is just really just to give it a little bit of a clean up. Okay, right, so now that's done, move that out of the way, stick my brush down, and then all I do is I just get a cloth, any cloth will do, disposable, probably the best, and then just give it a wipe. Okay. Now, the key thing here is for the mould to be able to accept all of the plaster. So I need to make sure I break the tension and also help it with demoulding. So what I use is a little bit of just rinse aid to help. You don't need like a silicone demoulder, just rinse aid. And all you do is you get it into each of the spots. This process takes a little while, but this is important prep really. Here you go. There. I think that's done. Yeah, okay. That's done. Give that a little rinse, and then just turn that face down on there, just to sort of absorb some of that moisture out of it. So the next step is to get your water that you're going to be using to mix into the. Right, now I've got the water in there, I just need to use my syringe to get what I need out, and I'm going to use 15 ml of water. Now for 15 ml of water, 22.5 grams of plaster. So what I'll do is I'll pour that in first. Right, so that's my 15 ml in. And now I've put the water in first, then switched on the scales, and then the scales set to 0. So now all I need to do is make sure that I put in 22. So put in, when you do this, put in a bit at a time and let it dissolve into the water. Turn the scale off, I don't need that anymore. And what we do now is we gently just mix this up, okay? And you see it's just a sort of fine, creamy like substance now. Now I want to give it some colour, and I quite would like to use this green. So what I do is I just get a little bit off the back here, and you can see how much I didn't use much there at all really, and then we start mixing that in, and all we do is we keep adding and mixing until we achieve colour match for what we're trying to achieve. And actually I'm quite happy with that. You can see that's quite decent. Yeah. Right, okay. Now that's been sitting forwards, just taking any moisture out of there. Now I've got this vibration plate that I made, which I'll show you, and it will help clear the bubbles. So now all we need to do is, oh, you can see this, we literally just pour out. There's no easy way of doing this, I'm afraid. But we literally pour out what we've got and put it over the top of the mould. Now, if you've got the mix right, you shouldn't start curing straight away and make it difficult for you to fill this mould. Okay, right, so got it there. Now, we need to get air bubbles out of this. So I'm going to turn on this vibration plate and hopefully you will see some air bubbles appear, or may not. But all this does is it agitates. Yeah, there's an air bubble there actually. I can point them out as they pop up. Yeah, another one there. And all this is doing now is it's helping it fall into the mould and complete and make it fill it up. It'll take a little while for this to happen, but you can see all the air bubbles now coming to the surface. Let's get this out of the way. Make sure it really vibrates. Here you go. You should be able to see that. Let's have a look and see if that should be all going inside now. So with the brush, all I'm doing now is just going along, and as it's agitating it, I'm just helping it in. It just helps with the success. Now, this can be a bit of a messy process. You can see it's pouring over the edges. But look, you can see now lots of air bubbles are beginning to appear, and that's what you want. You want to get the air bubbles out because you can't see any more air bubbles. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll turn off this plate and then get in one of these really badly abused scrapers. Actually, I'll get a wider one. Here you go, this one here. And all I'm going to do is just gently go across the top and make sure that it's nicely pushed down. Okay? And what you'll notice is actually it will start to firm up now. There you go. Off. Okay. And then you just continue gently wiping the top. There's an air bubble there. But it's come out of the top, that's alright. I might just go over that, that's it. You can see the material that's come off there, and it's started to cure already. So what I'll do is I'll just keep this scraper clean. And then give it one last drag. There, okay? And then all you need to do is once you're happy that that's clean at the top, you can then clean the edges up. And you just pop those back inside this, because this is rubbish now anyway. Now it depends on how much you want. I've clearly made too much, but I wanted to make sure that it got in, and I didn't have have to go back and make some more quickly. That's pretty much, that's the waste. When you get better at it, you won't get as much waste. You'll be using the right amount. Now, what's important to know is that you can't dispose of this down your sink, okay? Because what will happen is this will get caught in the pipe, and as it gets caught and you pour more down, it will build up, and it will create a blockage, and then dispose of it in a bin. Okay. Right, let's just go back over the process while this is curing. I've used rinse aid to help break the tension in the mould, so that when you pour the plaster in, it does sink down. As I've poured the mould in, I've used my brush and I've helped it fall into the mould. I've used my vibration plate to clear the air bubbles. Air bubbles is your biggest enemy when you're casting anything in plaster, so you need to make sure you get rid of those. I'm using my weighing scales to weigh out my powder, and I've got the ratios that I need mixed on a sheet on my computer, so I know roughly what to mix. You've got your pigments, so in this case we used quite a strong green pigment, but I didn't want it to be green, but I wanted it to be darker, and I thought the green would help. And my syringe that I was able to measure out successfully, 15ml water, which is critical for mixing the right proportions, and that goes into the pot first. You then add the plaster in bit by bit on your scales until you reach the required amount that you need, and that's when you then mix it. And you mix it gently to try and sort of keep the amount of air bubbles out. That's always helpful. And then I'll use the vibration plate to just get the last of it out. And what we'll do is when this is dry, we'll come back to this and we'll see what that looks like. Okay. Right, I think this is almost done now. So I'm going to get this out in a minute. I want to do another casting, and this time I'm going to use my mould, which is for roof tiles, the slate roof tiles. So I'm just going to get some more in here. Now what I think I might do is I'm just going to use 5ml. Okay, so that's 5ml done. Right, so I've got 5ml of water in there. Right, so that comes on, so that should go to 0. Perfect. And then I'm going to put 7 and a bit of casting powder in there. Now that's all mixed in there, so all I've got to do now is just mix that in a fine paste, as you can see. Clean. Now, the stuff I want to use, because I want to get it to a grey slate, will be some black charcoal. Let's see how quickly this turns and whether it will be enough. No, it's not quite enough yet. Okay, bit more. I reckon that'll be it. So mix that in. Pop this back over. Let's pour this in. Because I've not used a lot, I just have to be spread over a bit thin. But these slates are actually quite thin. Okay. Get my brush. Get these moved in.
Okay.
What I might do might just give that a bit of an agitate anyway while it's waiting. And hopefully there shouldn't be too much in the way of air in this one, because there's not much mix. Now, because these are quite thin, what I need to do, yeah, no, didn't really need that, that's all right. What I need to do, I've got to use a method which is called the glass method. So I'm going to scrape these in nice and tight. Okay, you see, like, still quite a lot comes off. But it doesn't look initially like I've made enough, and then you realise that actually it's fine. And then get the glass, and you don't lay it, plonk it on. You have to sort of lay it on at an angle, and then you gently lay it flat like that, and then you press down on it, and then you have to use weights. So I've got a couple of weights here. There you go. Now they can sit there. Now then, they've been sitting there for a couple of hours. And what I recommend you have, a bit of card. Just get yourself a bit of cardboard. Turn the mould over, and then all you do is you gently ease them out. And if I can show you a couple of these. So the detail. Now you can leave them as they are, or you can weather them. It's entirely up to you. And they're cobblestones. Now once I'm happy with these, which I generally am, I just put them in a stash drawer. Let's remove this last bit and see what these look like. So we laid the glass on there, so now we can take this away, turn this up, so now we've got the glass on the top, and hopefully we should just be able to lift off the mould. There you go. And some of these will just fall out on their own. Obviously some would have stuck to the glass, which is fine. Okay, mould's empty. Okay, let's have a look at some of these slates. There you go. You can see the edges here. Looks like an old slate. There you have it. So these would be the tiles that are slates that would go on the roof, and these would be excellent for bomb damage. But just to give you an example what these look like, there you go. Okay, and I'll see you on the next one.